Set my heart on fire.
Hello everybody, so back in American Truck Simulator. Before we go this, I'm going to go ahead and mention that this episode might get a little bit emotional. And that is because I'm going to be telling you my life story. Now, my life has not been, very, very good. I've had a very, very tough life. And that's why I said it's going to get emotional. If you guys, want to see, enjoyable videos, where you're, not going to get so emotional. Or if you do get emotional, go ahead and leave. It will not bother whatsoever. Go ahead and watch all the videos. I totally understand, guys. But, I just think, I should get this out. I was on the verge of whether or not I should actually release this or, do a video like this. But, I just want to get this out there so you guys know who I am and how things are for me today and stuff like that. But we're going to do that on the road. I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up and get on the road, guys. So let's go ahead and get this started, guys. Let's start the truck. If you guys don't know from last video, got 157 miles to go, about 3 hours and 19 minutes in-game time. So we don't have that very much farther to go. But we do have some need to go here. Alrighty, let me go ahead and back up here. Sorry, it's going to be a little bit loud here just for a second, guys, while I'm backing up. Because the mirrors are not that good on this truck. The only thing I don't like about this truck, another thing I actually don't like about this truck, is the mirrors are not great. So you gotta use the outside camera. But as you guys can see, I'm getting better at backing up at least. Anyways, let's go on the road, guys. Turn on my headlights, obviously. Starting to rain here. Alright, let's hop on the road. We'll start getting the story here in just a second, guys. I want to just start cruising a little bit here, guys. Turn on my hazards here. Not my hazard, but my amber lights. I need to turn on my wipers. Alright, guys, so my story. Okay, first of all, I don't know where to begin. I had so much of a difficult life that it's hard to where to begin, really. And I've always been afraid of this video ever coming out because what I can say can actually hurt some people. That's getting really big conflict. So I am actually risking a lot by telling you this, guys. I just thought, might as well so you guys know who I am. So where do you begin? Okay. When I was about 10 years old, okay, that's when really things, well, not 10. I guess it was around 7. I'm trying to remember which age it starts. I was about 7 or 8 years old. Okay, just so you guys know, I'm 19 right now. That's when things start to get really bad for me. What I mean by that is, okay, so I had a couple of people, or me and my family had a couple of people that decided to move in. Okay, we let them stay at a home that we sort of owned. I don't know who owned it, but we sort of owned. We let them come in, because they didn't have a place to stay, and they didn't know, I don't know. I can't remember who owned the details, it's too little, about the house, who owned the house, and what really happened. I really don't. But when those people started moving in, okay, that's when things start to turn to hell for me and my little sister. Okay, because the guy that moved in was very, very violent. You know, no, he was very, very violent. You know, towards all the kids that lived there. Was about 5 of kids that lived there, I believe. He was violent to every single one of them, including me. You know, and I wasn't even his kid. You know, so in turn, you know, that's pretty much considered abuse. You know, this guy's been to jail over 50 times at least, and we got hit on, you know, almost too close to death. You know, like one time, I was held down by 50-pound chains. You know, and I was about 7 or 8 years old. So imagine, you know, a kid that size, you know, getting pinned down by 50-pound chains. And that lasted about 4 hours, you know, 4 to 5 hours. And this was like 80-degree weather, you know, middle of southern time, very, very hot, you know. Nobody would help me, and I didn't even deserve it, you know. I didn't do nothing. He just decided to do it for the fun and the pleasure, you know. And like another time, you know, I got hanged by a basketball goal, you know. He literally put me on the basketball goal and forced me to hang there. It's either hang or drop, which at the time, you know, I was very, very high. It was high on like, it was like, I don't know. It was like put on a tree, you know. This tree was pretty high. It was like at the branches, so it's pretty high basketball goal. And I just had to hang there or drop, you know. And honestly, yeah, as a little kid, you know, you'd be scared to death to do that, you know. So, obviously, you know, I've had a very rough life at that point, you know. And my mom, you know, my mom was out doing whatever, you know. Didn't really care about what was happening at the time, you know. Didn't really pay attention to me at the time, you know. It was just a whole bunch of mix-ups, you know. A lot of stuff happened, you know. And after a couple years, you know, possibly, you know, my grandma and my grandpa was probably the only persons that, you know, prevent me from, you know, major injury. You know, I never really truly got hurt, you know, to where, you know, I needed to go to the hospital or anything. But it was definitely really, really bad, you know. No, and this was like 8 or 9 when I was about 7 or 8 when I was at this age, you know. And so we move on to a couple years, and I end up, you know, not having a home. You know, the house that I currently lived in, you know, got torn apart. You know, in fact, it's not even there. By the time everybody moved out, it got destroyed. So in turn, you know, the house was destroyed, you know, so we had to move on, you know. And I started to move on, like, I don't know, about when I was 9, maybe 10 years old. Okay. So we were around a lot of places, you know. It was so much that I've been to every school in the city that I live in, you know. And we got about, like, 5 to 6 schools around here. So I've been to every one of them because we moved so much. So I didn't really have a home, you know. This was something that, you know, I had an option of choosing. And I couldn't really do anything either, which was very, very upsetting. Oh, shit. Hold on, guys. My pedals are sliding. Give me 1 second here. Alright, guys, I'm back. Sorry, had to fix that. That was terrible. My pedals suck. My pedals like to slide all over the place, and when I was having hold, I decided to not hold it anymore, so that was definitely terrible. So, where was I? Okay, so I was at the point to where I was moving all around, you know. Moving all around, didn't really have any control of it, you know. And at one point, we ended up being so poor, we didn't even have a home, you know. Wasn't a possible thing. We spent about a year living on the streets, didn't have anybody, barely had stuff to eat, I lived in churches, or slept in churches, until, my grandparents decided to let me live with them, and I don't, this is the one point that, one thing I could say that, can really, really, affect some people. But my mother and father both, well, now was my stepfather at least, were in the drug game, They were doing all 9 years of drugs, At least I think they were. I don't know what drugs he did. That's not my concern. But, in the drug game, that was the most important thing to them at that point. And in turn, ended up being homeless, Until my grandma and grandpa both were courteous to let us in, let us stay with them. And it wasn't easy. There was only 3-bedroom, 6 of us, maybe even 7. It was just difficult, difficult for us to get in, but that only lasted, like a couple weeks, and then we were like sort of out of the streets again. Until, my parents, somehow got enough money to get an apartment, and that's when things started getting a little bit better for me. I wasn't getting no hit on a daily basis, and stuff like that. That's when things started to look up a little bit. But I still had one person that was still very, very violent to me. Not as violent as he would hit me every day, but would yell at me constantly about the slightest things, and even yell at me when I didn't even do anything, and that was my father. My father is currently not with me right now. He left my mother about a couple years ago. But my father was so violent to me that, okay, I'm getting off track here, okay? I'm mixing my story up a little bit. Sorry if this is so fucking confusing. I'm confusing myself over here. But, okay, so we lived in an apartment for a couple years. Let's just backtrack a little bit. We lived in an apartment for about a year or so. That's when, life started to get better, And as we moved on, my father, was very, very violent to me. Yelling at me. One time actually put his hands around my throat. Actually left marks on me from when he hit me. But that was not, often, He only put his hands around me once and maybe hit me just once or something. But, that's, what really happened, So in turn, I ended up moving with my grandparents, okay? I found every excuse in the book to live with my grandparents, even though my parents really didn't like it, it's something they had to deal with, Either I wanted to stay with them for a week, I would just blutter everything I could to stay with them, and it worked for a while. But then my parents ended up losing the apartment. Got in a big fight with the landlord, and in turn ended up losing the apartment. So my parents ended up moving in officially with my grandparents. And things, got a little bit of tension between my father and me. Or he wasn't really my father, he was my stepfather. Things got a little bit of tension. And so things got so bad that I can't believe I want to say this, and I would never tell this to anybody or say this to anybody if I truly didn't mean it. I literally wanted to kill him. It was at that point to, it was at the point to where I feel like, it was either going to be me or him. And I have thought of suicidal at that point. I'm going to admit it now. I was thought about suicidal because I thought that would be the easier way out. Let me tell you something. Biggest mistake I've ever made. One of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. Suicidal is the last thing on my mind right now. So one day, everything was, we still had like, fights, but things got a little bit tension. To where I just said, enough is enough, And when I got to that point is when, we got in a little bit of an argument. Don't remember what it was something, but I think, I was getting tired of him yelling at me all the time. Not treating me like an actual father. And I ended up starting to move out. I ended up moving to my aunt and uncle's for about a year, just to get away from him, And that lasted for a while. Then I got in some competition with my aunt and uncle, because we didn't really see eye to eye on some things. Dude, you got the yellow light. I got the right of way, fucking dick. Jesus. I ended up losing my aunt and uncle for about a year. Okay. And the confrontation was, I didn't really think he was being that much of a father to me. He's yelling at me all the time. And I mean all the time about the smallest things, even though he would be doing it as well. So what happened was he threatened to kill me, He said, he was going to beat my life up. I just threatened to report him to child services, And that really got him angry, And before we continue, I'm going to go get ahead and continue on with the story. If you guys want to see the more trucking, just let me know. Or you can just skip ahead, but I'm going to continue with the story. Okay, so in turn, we end up, where I said he was going to kill me. Okay, so I was, in threatened for my life, And I did say, I was going to call child services on him. By the way he's been treating me, put his hands on me and stuff like that. He didn't really like that. So he said he was going to find a way to kill me, And it turned out probably put him in jail as well. He said he was going to kill me. So I ended up moving out. I was sick of it, completely tired of it, and this is when I was 17. So this is I was like in the middle of 17, way before I was 18, so I literally moved out, and it was when I ended Knuckles. So in term, in the state of Indiana, the law is if you're over the age of 14, you have the right to say where you live, as long as a person you're going to live with takes the leadership of guardianship, And I live in Indiana. If you guys don't know, I've said this many times, but I live in Indiana. That's the law here. Okay, so I moved with my aunt and uncle for about a year and a half. Okay, that didn't work out very well. So I had a girlfriend at the time that her grandma owed owned a couple houses, um, that, that she, like, rents out to the public. So I ended up talking to her, and I ended up picking a house. Okay, and this is while I'm still 17. So I ended up making a deal with her on the house. I ended up not paying any expenses whatsoever on the house. I pretty much lived there for free. I did get a job. Had a job. Tried to pay as much as possible, but there was no, baseline on rent or whatnot. I pretty much lived there for free. Then I got in a confrontation with her. My mother ended up living with me for about 2 days. She found out, and we got a little bit of confrontation. And she pretty much kicked me out. And me and my girlfriend ended up having a big fight, and we broke up. So that in turn, meant that I had to leave. I officially had to leave the house. So I ended up moving to an apartment, which is what I'm living in right now. We're sort of in the future right now. Okay, this just happened a couple months ago, so I'm telling you like as it is. So I ended up moving to this apartment. Okay. And I was 18 at the time when I got this apartment because obviously, I could not get this apartment when I was 17. So I was 18 at the time. So I got the apartment. Okay. I pay about $295 on rent or whatever my income is. Okay. Which is, not bad at all. So in turn, that's, what led up to, now. And what has happened in the past has taught me that, it is, time to move on, and just, learn from the mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes in the past, and just move on, make this a better person, which it has, All the people I meet tell me that, I'm one of the nicest guys they have ever met, I personally don't believe it. But, I try to be, and that's really who I am, I've had a tough life, I had to, fight for what I have now, in no way did I think I'd ever be here, be who I am, be where I'm at, I didn't even think I'd be able to do YouTube for you guys, this was, something I really had in mind for a couple years. But, never thought I'd be able to do this. So, reason why I'm actually telling this story for you guys is to pretty much give you in the mind that, nothing's impossible. Anything can happen. Anything can get better. So, if you're at the time in your life that, things are just terrible right now, and you don't really know what to do, you don't know what the future holds for you, believe me, it does get better. That's for anybody out there, whatever you're going through, just imagine me, imagine what my lifestyle was, what I had to deal with, I had to deal with, amounts and amounts of pain to be where I am right now. And that's really what it takes, if it takes, the hardest, work you've ever put into doing where you're at right now, then just keep on moving. Things will get better. I do promise you guys. So that's just my life story. That is where, I am right now. That's what makes me, a person who I am right now. I know, this may be a short episode. We didn't have really long to go. I was hoping it would be longer, so I can give you because this is a pretty long story. So we ended up going overboard. That's why, we're just sitting in the lobby and just talking about this. But, I just want to give you, a heads up of who I am, and maybe get some inspiration for you guys out there. I don't know. Just let me know, guys, this may be a little bit of confusing, If you guys want me to do this again, just let me know to, simple it out. Because I get, I've been listening to myself, and this is actually fucking confusing to me. So, and I can't go back, I can't, make this video up again because, we also did the root, and this is part 2 of the first video. So, obviously, I can't redo this, so if you want me to simplify the story, for you guys in the next video, just let me know, guys, it's not a big deal. If this sort of makes sense to you, just leave it down in the comments below. If this gave you any inspiration whatsoever, to, see life as a different thing, And that's what I really like seeing people do, I see people all the time saying that, I don't think anything would get better, I want to get, rid of this stuff, I want to, just give up. And my main point is don't give up, There's a whole bunch of different lives out there than what you see at the current time, And like I said, I would never imagine doing any of this stuff, even having, the computer I have or the home I have. I'm very happy with what I have, and sometimes that's just what you have to accept, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it here, guys. We've been way over this time, and this is just awkward, so like I said, let me know if you want me to do this again, simplify it for you guys, and the best way I know how. I just said in the best way I know how, and I just have to figure something out. So just let me know, guys. I will see you guys later. Bye.